Good evening, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back.
Yay.
Are you tired of getting all of your offers, offer after offer, rejected in this crazy competitive market? Do you feel like you're putting your best foot forward and still not being good enough? Well, stay tuned. We are going to give you some tips and tricks to get your offer accepted in this competitive market.
This is Real Generational Wealth. Live from Southern California, this is Abby, Espy, and Jen.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy
Happy
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
And
It's
welcome back
actually only
to.
Wednesday today.
Oh, that's
Oh,
true.
that's
Yes,
right.
we do have Easter this weekend. Welcome back. Thank you all for tuning in. If you guys are watching this live, be sure to hashtag live in the comments below. If you're catching us on the replay, hashtag replay. So, ladies, big topic today. I know a lot of buyers out there are watching and have been super frustrated with this crazy market. Tips and tricks on how to get your offers accepted. I don't even know where to begin because I know there must be a lot of questions from our audience, but I would say, Abby, what would you say, or what advice would you give a buyer as far as, hey, where do I start? I want to make sure I get my dream home.
So the first thing is you need to be pre-approved. I have some buyers that are contacting me looking at houses and they're like, "Oh, I like this house." Okay, so have you gotten a pre-approval already like we discussed? No, not yet. And then by the time they get their paperwork together, the home is gone.
Yeah.
And the most important thing after a pre-approval is to have an agent. You need an agent to vouch for you and to have your best interest. Because if you go, some people are thinking, oh, I can go directly to the listing agent, or I don't need an agent if I'm buying a new construction. Well, who's there to protect you? I mean, who's the listing agent's first client? It's a seller.
Yep.
So even if they represent you, there's nobody that's really vouching for you.
Like
You
in your
pretty
corner
much
fighting for you. Yeah.
Your
exactly,
interest.
yeah, you're pretty much on an island by yourself. So I mean, what other advice do you ladies have for getting offers accepted?
I mean, I want to piggyback off of what you just said. The reason why we want your pre-approval or we want you to have a pre-approval up front is because of the time it does take to get, right? Like I know there are lenders out there that can honestly get it back to you within 24
a,
hours.
a day, yeah.
Yeah, but it's up to you as the buyer, right? You need to make sure you have all of your documents and because they ask for a lot of documents, right? There's their tax returns and they're going to run your credit and your income tax, oh yeah, your bank statements, all these different
Pay
things.
stubs.
And because it's a lot of paperwork, it could take you some time. So you definitely want to get that up front. I mean, I've had situations also where I got called to buy a buyer. She went with a listing agent, actually.
Hmm.
She was super frustrated. I think she was looking for at least several months, couldn't get anything. Not my
Mm-hmm.
buyer. It was
Hmm.
actually a friend of mine. She was using a family member to help her get a place. And after several months, that family member or that family member agent, they just kept getting rejected. They couldn't get accepted anywhere. So she ended up walking to an open house and went with a listing agent. Of
Hmm.
course, she got it accepted, except somewhere down the road, there were some hiccups in the inspection, and the seller or the listing agent just said, "Hey, well, the seller's not going to do anything. Sorry." Like he wasn't even willing to hear her out, wasn't even willing to help her out. And back to what you just said, Abby, like there's no one in your corner if you go with the directly with the listing agent. So you definitely
Especially
want,
right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you want to make sure that someone fights for you, and that being said, that your agent should know how to talk to the listing agent to
Right.
basically get make you the most competitive, right? There's so many things. I mean, things I do at the very least is shorten contingencies.
Yeah.
As a buyer, you have three contingencies. In a normal market, we have three contingencies. There's your
Yes.
inspection contingency. In a normal market is 17 days. Your appraisal contingency, which also in the normal market is 17 days, and then a loan contingency in a normal market is 17 to 21 days.
Mhm.
But in today's market, you're lowering the inspection anywhere between to 5 to 7 days, you're removing an appraisal contingency up front. And if possible, you're also removing the loan contingency. I know that sounds crazy for some buyers that are listening, but there are ways around it.
Yeah, it's really important that you know how to navigate that contract.
Right. Right. So, I mean,
SB,
what,
since,
yeah, I was going
oh,
to ask Gatsby. Go ahead, Gabby.
SB, since you have a recent sale where the buyer waived the appraisal contingency, can you tell us a little bit about how that works?
Yeah, when you make an offer, the buyer has to expect right now, especially right now, that they have a loan approval, and they have to expect that they will give the best and highest offer right away. And part of that is releasing a loan contingency or an appraisal contingency. Just because an appraisal is an opinion of a professional of how much the property is going to be. So if the appraiser is maybe out of the area, if you pick a lender that is out of the area, then usually the appraiser is also out of the area and they're not familiar with the market in that particular neighborhood. So
That's true.
they would not understand why is it that there's a big demand there, and why is it that
Mm-hmm.
you can list it for over the order over the market value that they have history wise,
Right.
based on the closed sale, you know. So if you're listing it, if your agent that represents you understands how it is to make an offer and knows the climate of that particular area where you are buying, then you're most likely to get the offer. Because the most important thing is that you have to be transparent with your agent. You know, you have not only do you have an approved loan, but you also have to have a transparency with your buyer's agent, because remember, the buyer's agent is representing your interest.
Right.
If you really really want that house, surely you already know or familiar with what is the condition in that area, because not all areas are hot where you have to overprice. There are some areas that are not, but in general, especially here in LA County, it is really, you have to expect that you're going to be asking the highest and the best offer, um, when you make your offer. Yeah. So.
I mean, there's situations because you just said, like in some cases where you don't have to go above asking, or you don't have to go
Mhm.
crazy high above asking. And I am seeing that, there's a lot of sellers nowadays that think, hey, my house is the best house on the block. I'm going to price it $1 million more than everybody else, or, whatever the case is, right? They
Yeah.
want top dollar, but it's not worth top dollar, and
Mhm.
so your agent, your buyer's agent should be running comps and at least giving you the heads up, hey, the neighborhood is worth this much. The house is probably worth this much, and kind of giving you at least like a rough estimate on what you can expect an appraisal to come in at. So if you are removing that appraisal contingency up front, hey, I am expected to cover this, or no, it's going to appraise. I can go this much more above asking, because some sellers are overpricing their properties, and in those cases, I don't see them going above asking. They're at or slightly below. But it's typically when you see houses that are way underpriced, something in a neighborhood that's worth, let's say the neighborhood's worth about 800, and the property's listed at 699.
Mhm.
You're gonna
As a
expect offers
teaser.
to be, yeah, you're
Yeah.
gonna expect to see offers come in at like 850, even close to 9, depending on obviously the condition of the house.
Mhm.
So just to go off of what you said, so when you have an agent vouching for you, typically before we submit an offer, we go over the comps. And I know I'm currently working with VA buyers, and the lender was telling us, the VA appraiser is a lot more conservative. So we saw
Mhm.
model match 525, and our offer was 540, but there was homes that sold that were smaller that sold for 532. So the one that sold for 525, it was a little bit, it was a few months back, and there's an uptick in the market. So we figured worst case scenario, it'll appraise at 525. So we just got the appraisal back. It appraised for 540. Yay!
Nice.
I'm like,
Good.
oh my
Good.
gosh. Yeah, but before the appraisal came in, I made sure to prepare my buyers. Like, if you have to cover the gap, the
Yeah.
$15,000 gap. Are you prepared to do that?
Yeah.
Because if not, let's not waste our time and submit an offer. Because
You
right
always need to
now,
have a plan B.
yes, yeah, like it's really difficult to find homes under 550, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Luckily, this one was 4 bedrooms, three
Wow.
baths.
Where's that?
Nice.
Lake Elsinore, my favorite.
Oh,
It's our third escrow in Lake Elsinore.
oh wow.
Um,
Okay.
but okay, so that's Lake Elsinore. I have one that just closed in the Bay Area in Richmond. There, the homes go for sometimes 100% over asking. The market is so crazy. So the one that we were in escrow on, it's a 3 bedroom, 2 bath. It has a view of the bay.
Nice.
It was listed at 799. When something is 799 over there, it can go for 1.4. It's
Wow.
really it's really
Oh
odd. I
my
don't know why
gosh.
they don't just price
Mhm.
it closer to 1.4. But we came in at 114, no contingencies, okay? But my buyer still had a loan. But I work with a VP of lending at California Credit Union. He I asked him, "Can we do this no contingencies?" He's like, I don't see the problem. I was like, are you sure? Because it's a $33,000 deposit if anything goes wrong. And he was like, and I was telling him, if anything, it would be the appraisal. So they had to do 3 appraisals on the home. It came in 1.165, 1140, which was the price of our offer. And the last one came in at 1.15 because he was from out of the area, and he came in after all the stage furniture was removed,
What's your
because we
move
didn't
already?
know they were going to do that third appraisal. So the
Mhm.
seller removed all the furniture, and it kind of made a difference with the value.
Hmm.
But we were able to get a waiver and get the 1140 price, since it was kind of in the middle of
Mhm.
1165 and then
Did
1115.
you have a big down payment?
No, they didn't need a big down payment. They did 5% down, and they had the money for reserves, like in case it did come in a hundred
Well,
thousand dollars
Yeah.
lower. They were
mhm.
prepared for that, but it didn't, and everything worked out. They did. I was just in the news, or in the Spectrum News, about talking about adjustable rate mortgages. So they did an arm and got three. It was 3.25 with lender paid PMI.
Wow.
Oh my, that's
So
good.
that's really, they have no PMI at 3.25.
The
My
rates
lender
now
is
are,
so good.
are creeping to the 5%. Is
I
that
have a few
that's a
buyers at
jumbo loan
5%.
too, no?
Yeah.
I know. So it's a 7-1. I know a lot of people are like, don't get an arm. But you know
No,
what?
seven
After,
arm is really safe.
yes, yeah,
A
the
great
arms, they are
that's
safe.
a
Like
great
the
deal.
the clients I have that do get arms, they're very educated. They can understand the big picture,
Mhm.
and she was even like, yeah, it's a no brainer. I mean, I'm not paying PMI,
Yeah.
and because the initial rate was like 2.8,
Okay.
but
Also,
if
a 3.25 on a jumbo loan is PMI is included.
Lender
no,
paid
yes,
PMI.
the PMI is included on that. So it was initially 2.875, but I told the lender, she needs write-offs, like she makes too much money. She
Mhm.
needs
Mhm.
she needs to have more tax shelters. So he I told him, like, can you do lender paid PMI? And he was like, okay, I have
Yeah,
to check on
they
the.
will bump up the rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, the appraisal has to be okay with, for the lender paid PMI to go through. They have to be okay with the appraisal. Like, it has to appraise. So
Mhm.
luckily it appraised, because if there's
Mhm.
too much of a gap between the appraisal and the sales price, then the mortgage insurance company is not going to approve it. They won't do the
Mhm.
lender paid
Mm.
PMI. They'll just have to pay the extra $400 or $500 in PMI. So she got a really good deal. I have the one that I have in the other one we have in Lake Elsinore is doing an arm, and they got 2.75.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great
I mean,
rate right
you brought up a
now. Mhm.
big point where you said, I know VP of this bank or this lender, right?
Yeah.
For you buyers who are watching, if you're just starting and you are contacting an agent, or if you're in the very beginning stages and you are not pre-approved yet, I highly, highly recommend you go with a lender recommended by your agent. And the reason your agent will recommend a lender is because we've had previous experience with them. We
Yeah.
know that they're good at what they do. We know that they can
And
close.
not all lenders are the same because
Exactly. And
every lender has a niche.
yeah,
Like for
They
instance
have
with
different
Abby,
guidelines.
the credit union has a niche.
Yeah,
but
the credit
I just
unions
feel like
like
in, go ahead.
the credit unions like jumbos. And
Mm,
the reason why, I mean, she could have put 20% down, honestly, but the way that the home prices were going up in the Bay Area, she was going to be able to, like, if she had to refinance, she could refinance out of the mortgage insurance. The value is just going up. So she's going to have 20% equity in a couple years, anyways. So it doesn't make sense to like spend all your money, just put all your money into the home. You can diversify and maybe put some in stock or for a rainy day. But
Mm.
it does matter. Who you work with does matter. I mean, I'm not going to disclose who I'm working with. You got to contact me. We get special deals. Like, so that deal that we got, this lender specializes in jumbos and portfolio loans, which I got a lot of flack from other agents. Like, why are you saying to use an arm? That's kind of irresponsible. You don't know if
no.
rates are gonna go
Mhm.
up or, you know, but I asked them to have you used an adjustable rate mortgage before, and they were like, no.
And that's the
Well,
I'm
thing,
like,
right?
then
if
don't.
you can
There's a
use
lot of
something like that,
people.
yeah.
There's a lot of people who are just misinformed,
There's a lot
right?
of misconception
Yeah.
out
Mhm.
there,
Yeah.
and I think it also goes with experience. But like Jen was saying, we've vetted uh, these
Lenders.
loan officers.
Yeah.
So you don't want to just go with your bank. You don't know what they're charging you in closing costs.
Mhm.
My guy, he pays for all the closing costs. Okay, if you do a portfolio loan, they'll pay for the closing costs and do lender paid PMI, so you have additional write-offs. So there's things
Mhm.
like that I like to offer my clients, because my buyer was working with a local agent in the Bay Area, and she was just like, I don't do loans. Oh, I don't get involved with loans. Okay, so you gotta just contact my loan officer. And they were trying to do FHA on her, and I was like, well,
Oh wow.
your score's like close to 800. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So you really need it. So the payment difference was like $1,000 a
Wow.
month. So you
Wow.
really need an agent that's working on your side and helping you plan, even doing some kind of, some tax planning too,
I
where
mean,
we do a
because
little.
I think not every buyer. Well, it's the truth, right? Not every buyer is the same, right? You're gonna have your traditional W-2 people and whatnot, but there's business owners. There's business owners who have LLCs
Self-employed.
and they're entrepreneurs or they're 1099 independent contractors, and not everybody fits that same box, right? You
That's
have
true.
you
Yep.
have a big box bank, you have Chase or Bank of America, and we all hate Bank of America. I'm going to say that out loud. But um, you banks just they have a box, and if you don't fit in the box, then they're not going to try to get creative
Yeah.
to
They
give you a
cherry
loan.
pick.
Yeah. That's why it's so important to talk with your agent, right? Hey, let your agent know your situation. And I mean, that's how I do it. Like I typically will ask the buyers, what is your situation? And then I
Yes.
will match them
Yeah, I
up
do the exact
which
same
one
thing.
of my lenders works best for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have quite a few. I mean, I don't force any of them on anybody, but obviously you want to get the right fit, because as a buyer, at the end of the day, you want to save the most, right? Hey, Abby just saved her buyer $1,000 a month, or SB
So
probably
That's
got,
cash flow.
Tesla,
yeah,
Tesla
I'm
payment
sure
right
SB got
there.
Cash
another
flow.
buyer a better rate, whatever the case is, like you want to make sure that you are matched with the best person. And I mean, this is something we always talk about in every episode, is how important it is to work with the right people. And it's not just your agent, it's your agent, your lender, inspector. It's definitely this team that's supposed to be in your corner and ultimately fight for you.
Well, you want to have an agent that has a team of professionals that work for them,
Yeah.
you know, because it's not only the realtor that's going to work for you. It has to be the lender. The financing is very important. I
It
used to I
is,
used
yeah.
to do both of the loan and the real estate years ago, and you don't need two separate licenses for it. And during the times when there was multiple offers, in the late 90s, when the market was really really hot, I used to bring my file and show it to the seller. Here, I got the loan. I'm okay with it.
I'm almost tempted to do that, like to
And
do
my buyer
loans
is
and
waiting outside just in case they need to counter for a higher price or a
Nice.
better term. I'll make them wait outside while I'm making the offer. At that time, we used to be in a table, the kitchen table. All the agents would be seated in front, and the seller will be at the end of the table, and we will all present our offers.
Wow.
So you have to
Wow.
come up with different ways of how to get noticed,
Yeah.
you know. So if everybody is just on the price, there's a big difference on the terms and how ready they are. Like I have my client outside waiting, just in case I need to let them sign for a counter or increase in terms.
Right.
You know, we can have it done
I mean,
right
you
there.
bring up a very good point, right? Like sometimes it's not just price and terms, right?
Mhm.
You've got to figure out a way as a buyer or as the buyer's agent to stand out, right?
Mhm.
I want to ask you ladies this question. Do you ever recommend your buyers to write a buyer love letter or a seller love letter?
I did that way back. And
No,
the thing
it
is that everybody's doing that. I tell you one thing that I did, it was really interesting, was I was in the Bay Area, right, in the Silicon Valley, and my client are like tech savvy. So we came to this house and really early before the first open house, right? And then there's about more than 10 cars that open their car, and then everybody coming out to go to the open house. So, oh my gosh, all these people are coming here and looking at the house and all that. So I said, SB, what are you going to do to stand out? And so after we came out from the open house, I said, well, you know what? Try to befriend the seller. You come again in one of the open house and talk to the seller. And they did.
Nice.
They had a chat and all that. And then when the offer, because usually it takes about a week or so before they accept offers. And we did the love letter, we did the picture, but then because they can remember them with the little boy, and talking about the house and all that, then we got the house, we got the
Nice.
oh, that's
offer.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
so it works sometimes, but sometimes
Yeah.
the agents will say don't
right.
send a love letter or whatever.
Yeah, because it became a really staple now.
Yeah.
Everybody's
I mean,
sending
it's
it.
now it's on that
Yeah,
fair housing
yeah.
Yeah, because they don't
addendum.
want to discriminate against people that don't have families or people that are single or people that are
Mhm.
transgender, things like that.
But
So
I
I
mean,
can see,
I have seen it in the case where it's made all the difference, right? Like I've
Mhm.
had a buyer gotten accepted because of their letter. And for those of you watching, the seller love letter, real quick, is just, dear Mr. Seller, we are Mr. and Mrs. So and so, and we walked into your home this past weekend and we have absolutely loved it. We are
Mhm.
whatever we do for work. We have a dog. We have two kids. It's a
Yeah,
little biography that kind
the
of
love
tries to
letter.
sell. Yeah, it's a dear seller, we love your home. Please pick us type of thing. And I've had a situation, I've had a couple situations where it worked. I've had a couple situations where the agent was like, "Well, we're not going to submit that to the seller."
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I have situations where my clients don't write it at all; they choose not to, and we still get accepted. So that's
Usually,
why I asked, like, do you ever recommend it? I mean, I know it's either
so
or.
not so I don't do a love letter. I kind of schmooze the agent
Yeah,
a little bit, like
You
during the
get to
open
know
house.
yeah,
you
Yeah,
need to know the pain points.
yeah. I mean,
What we
first
call
thing I
pain
always ask
points.
every listing agent is what's the seller looking for, right?
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
not every seller needs the highest price. Sometimes they need the time. Sometimes they
Sometimes
need
they need a lease back. I've
Yeah,
been
sometimes they
seeing
need
that.
60 days to move, right?
That's
So,
important.
Yes,
yeah,
yeah, because a lot of the sellers that we've been running into, they're buying new construction, so they need time to move.
Mhm.
So I told my buyers, you're doing 3% down, or FHA. Okay, let's see if we can give them that time. So there hasn't been a time that I haven't gotten my buyers' offers accepted. Like it takes me a week to 2 weeks to get into escrow, but I spend a long time educating my buyers like
right.
on the market. Like if you're trying to get something in Irvine and your budget is 700, okay, it's not
It's
going to
not going to
work.
work.
Not gonna work.
Yeah, the median home price is over 1 million over there. So let's go look at somewhere else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But um yeah. So I what I do, I don't do a love letter. I'll do financial strength. Because they can't discriminate based on your financial strength.
right.
Just like my client's been in this industry, she's a director, something like that.
Yeah.
and that it's pretty solid. I mean, if you're removing all contingencies, it's pretty solid. But
Right.
I don't ever remove all contingencies when it's Southern California. SoCal, at the most, is just appraisal contingency, and we keep the loan in there. Um, but maybe in the valley, it's different.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, a lot of my buyers, we're removing appraisal contingency up front and we're shortening loan contingency to as short as possible,
Mhm.
10 to 12 days. But I'm just going to say, based off of our listings, like we had a listing in Woodland Hills, very hot area, very small
Oh
house
yeah.
on a very small lot, fixer. Um, Comps in the area were probably about seven. We
Hmm.
listed at 699 and we accepted 850 with no appraisal and no loan contingency.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
Did they inspect the house?
their inspections are scheduled for today, actually. So
Yeah,
they had a very short inspection
yeah.
contingency, you know. But yeah, they were literally heads and shoulders above everybody else. They removed the contingencies up front. Um, and so you know, there are some markets that are that competitive. You know,
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's, I would say it's city specific,
yeah,
even community specific sometimes, if
Mhm.
whether or not you remove contingencies. Because if you go to Chino Hills, it's cash buyer land over there. If you
correct.
go to Chino, you can do FHA, but you have to bid high and remove contingency. So it depends on every market, but you can contact us depending on what market you're looking at, and we can advise you accordingly.
Yeah,
Ladies,
because
we
it
have,
depends on the area. Some
yeah.
people, even in the Bay Area, it's different too.
So we have a question from Mariel Mencio. Do you recommend to wait to buy a house?
My
Depends on
answer
Who
your
is
wants to take this?
situation.
yes, it does depend on the situation, but
Depends on the situation.
if you are ready as a buyer, financially ready, you know, you do need a place to move into, you need more space. And you're just afraid of these high interest rates or this scary market, I don't think you should wait. I think you should definitely link up with one of us or an agent, you know, definitely an agent to educate you, to help you get your offer accepted, because honestly, who knows where the rates are going to go next year, you
I've
know.
That's
always
true.
re- I've always said, the best time to buy is whenever you can. And a lot of times, the word "whenever you can" makes a difference on who you are working with.
Yeah.
Because if your agent is familiar or has works hand in hand with a lender, you know, there's a lot of reasons why people would hold off because lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
So they just base it on whatever is in the news. Like right now, oh, the news is saying, oh, it's almost 5%. We should wait. Well, 3 years ago it said, oh, we should wait, the interest rates might go down.
You'll
So
be,
whoever is waiting, sometimes they would miss out on hundreds of thousands of dollars of
Yeah.
of equity because they waited.
Yeah.
You know,
And
that's
yeah,
I know
true.
buyers that they would say, "Oh, you know what? We're going to wait out this market because it's crazy. We're going to wait for it to slow down." Well, it
Mhm.
hasn't slowed down in the last like 10 years.
Yeah, we're still going to have a housing shortage no matter what. But to answer your question, I would say it depends. Are you living at home with your parents, free rent, and you want to save more for a down payment or save for 20% down? Or are you paying 3,000 a month in rent and you want to find a place? I mean, if you're paying $3,000 a month, that's pretty much a mortgage. So, and
Yeah.
you're paying $36,000 a year, making your landlord richer rather than
And
yourself. So I
yourself.
would say definitely buy in that case. But if you still have, if you're at home waiting, like, and you're not paying rent and your parents are helping you take care of your kids, then you might be able to wait. But honestly, I don't see inventory going up anytime soon. I think that's the reason why home prices are still high, although
Mhm.
interest rates are high. Home prices are supposed to go down a little bit, but I think they're going to stay high because there's just not enough
Because of the
inventory
shortage.
out
Yeah.
there.
There's not
Yeah,
enough
there's a housing
supply to
shortage.
match the demand.
There's always a way to buy if you want to.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. You need to want it and explore.
Yeah.
Because education, the more you know, the better decision you can make. Yeah.
Definitely.
Hmm.
Well, I think that covers everything. Ladies, do you have
Yeah.
anything else to add?
Well, if you're out there listening to us, we've been doing this for now over a year now, and feel free to reach out to any of us, and we'll be happy to talk to you about what your options are. You don't necessarily have to buy right now or be committed. We are always trained to help and give information first, as you see what we do here, where we carve up some of our time during our busy day to give you some snapshots of what's going on in the market and what are the best ways for you to be owning and leveraging on your um, real estate. You know, so.
Also, if you guys are scared or scared of rejection or scared your offer is not going to get accepted, or if you've been working with an agent for months or even years and you're not able to get your offer accepted, just contact any of us and we'd be happy to advise you, just to see
Mhm,
what, where's the gap, like why isn't your offer getting accepted, or
Right.
we can figure that out for you and come up with an action plan. So you
mhm,
can contact any of us if you have any other questions regarding real estate as well.
mhm. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, that wraps up our show for tonight. We look forward to seeing you guys all in 2 weeks. Until then, have a good rest of your night.
Thank
Bye.
you. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.